CWG.com, another week, another weather roller coaster ride. We start chilly, we end chilly, but a bit mild to warm in the middle of the week. I want you to check out our latest on the blog at CWG.news/latest. That's our PM update out on CapitalWeatherGang.com. Overall, the sky conditions this week, more sunny than not, but we could see some clouds at times. Some breezes are around. We'll talk about wind chill levels shortly. But overall, it is pretty darn dry. We could see some raindrops maybe as soon as Wednesday afternoon, but off and on nature that they might take on from Wednesday night into Friday morning or midday won't add up to much. So I think overall it's a dry, if not fully dry week this week. So enjoy the outdoor time, but then allergy sufferers with the pollen, you might see a little bit of an increase in your allergies later this week since we don't have any precipitation, much if any to speak of, to rinse out our atmosphere for us. Hello, Maria. Hello, David. Good evening. Peter, hello. David, yes, later sunsets indeed are coming. We are enjoying nearly a 6 p.m. sunset. I'm Camden Walker for CapitalWeatherGang.com. Thanks for joining me on these weekly Sunday sunset chats on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook. And look at that, we're over 11 hours of daylight now. And yes, indeed, these sunsets are getting later and later, David. Laura, thanks for joining from YouTube. We are doing okay on pollen. I'm feeling it a little bit. We've had off and on reports of pollen in the recent days, some mold spores, but they're low, and some trees, but they're low. Personally, I am an early season sufferer, so the exact type of tree pollen, I think cedar, juniper, pine, those are the tree species that seem to affect me in an outsized manner. So it depends on what type of pollen is affecting your system. But overall, trees are low, but I'm feeling every single pollen grain of these low tree numbers, albeit low, but still affecting me. All right, let's look at the wind gusts over the next 24 hours. Not too bad. We have maybe a couple 15, maybe a 20 mile per hour wind gusts in the next 24 hours, but overall you can see it's kind of calmer south and southwest of town. That's good news because we do have January-like temperatures tomorrow in the 40s. So keep in mind the wind chills through much of the day could be feeling several degrees below that high temperature predicted tomorrow, mid-40s, 45 degrees. And of course, our latest forecast at CWG.news/latest. Good evening, Paul. Thanks for tuning in. Doris, the wind is making it feel so cold. I want spring. Well, Doris, I hope you'll like the midweek warm-up temperatures. Daffodils are ready to bloom in Don's yard. And hello, Ruth Elisa. And hello, Diana in Greencastle, Pennsylvania. And Gary, hello in Maine. Snow squall coming through there. Yes, indeed, you have an Arctic front coming through. And Columbia, Maryland, Keith, thanks for joining in from there. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you have any questions or comments during the next 17 minutes that I'm on the air for this 20-minute live Sunday sunset chat Q&A. I would love to hear from you, especially if you have any questions coming up. Sky conditions this week are kind of mix of sun and clouds, but I'd say more brightness than not. Raindrops, if any, may occur later on Wednesday into Friday, but they might not amount to any, which we'll get to in a moment. Winds are generally under control this week, but we do have some wind chills at times, especially as we end and start the week, both on a chilly note, kind of feeling a little bit more like January. But of course, anytime you need us, we're at CapitalWeatherGang.com or latest forecast direct link at CWG.news/latest. If I am full screen right now, you can touch on my face, tap on me really quick, and you'll see the links pop up below on your mobile device or above on your desktop or laptop. All right, we've got the wind chills we're talking about for tomorrow, several degrees lower than the mid-40s predicted because of maybe an occasional 15 or 20 mile per hour wind gust. Southwest of town by mid-afternoon, into the 40s for the real feel-like temperature. It is going to be fairly mild south and southwest of town, but we do have some breezes around town mixing with our mid-40s on the thermometer, so we could have wind chills in the upper 20s perhaps as we wake up, which we'll talk about in a bit. 30s a lot during the day, and generally getting a little bit closer to our thermometer readings by later afternoon. But think about winter tomorrow, add on a couple of those layers, just be ready for a little bit of that January feel tomorrow. Hello, Mary. Thanks for tuning in. And Gary, wow, you've had some cold and some wind there in Maine. And hello, Culpepper Steve. Thanks for tuning in. You had a nice seasonable week ahead you're looking forward to. And Earl, hello in Clarksburg, Maryland. So daffodils are ready to bloom indeed. Earl, I think Dawn had them earlier in her yard as well. The daffodils are getting ready. And Chilean Falls Church, Helen, I hope you'll like this forecast. Later this week, look at the middle part of this week. We've got some warmer, milder air. It should feel more like spring. After all, March 1st is coming up on Tuesday. Meteorological spring is coming up on Tuesday for March 1st. That means the atmosphere starts behaving more like a spring mode, more warmer temperatures, brighter sunshine for sure. That's coming in from higher sun levels, higher sun angle. So it should feel more and more like spring by the middle of this week, just in time for the atmosphere to kick off meteorological spring as we get into Tuesday. So goodbye, meteorological winter for December, January, February. Hello, meteorological spring on Tuesday, March 1st. Kenny is excited about March. Excellent. And Gary, you be safe as well. And I hope to see you next Sunday. Thank you for tuning in. And Drew, hello in North Bethesda. And you're talking about spring cherry blossoms and kites. And yep, some long walks outdoors, maybe a little bit in the middle of this week with some more sun than clouds. And generally winds under control, but I know what you're saying. You want maybe a little bit warmer for longer walks. Hello, Alex. Thanks for tuning in on YouTube. Indeed, David, meteorological spring begins on Tuesday, March 1st. And Helen, chilly in Falls Church, but you should be warmer in the middle of this week. Look at that warm up coming. A little bit of weather whiplash this week, a little bit of roller coaster. We kind of start low, go high for the middle part of the week, and back down the roller coaster for Friday. It feels maybe again a little bit chilly, but we'll stay tuned to see how the atmosphere gears up at the end of this week. Thursday, maybe even Friday, could be a transition day between weather systems. So confidence at best is medium for forecast confidence, but we, of course, will keep you posted at capitalweathergang.com. I'm Camden Walker. Thanks for tuning in for these weekly Sunday Sunset Chats. And let me know if you have any questions or comments. I'm on the air another 15 minutes or so, maybe a little bit less for these 20-minute chats. Alex is enjoying the warmth and sunlight after a cold, dark winter, he says on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. And indeed, David, I think March is coming in like a lamb on Tuesday. That's a good point. And Eric, you've been turning the garden. The dirt seems to be plenty moist. Yes, indeed. Let's get to that. Let's talk about moisture levels for this upcoming week. Just to prepare you, it's going to be a pretty dry, darn week. Darn dry. We could see some raindrops maybe later Wednesday, maybe Thursday, maybe Friday. Confidence is kind of low medium. We might be between weather systems, but as you can see, most of the region for the next 7 days, pretty darn dry. Virginia, North Carolina especially, northwest of town of DC, the mid-Atlantic, could see a little bit more rain, but even there, pretty light amounts. But this is okay, as we were talking about the soil moisture, it is doing okay. Only a couple spots here in the yellow in the mid-Atlantic are in the abnormally dry range. There is no drought until you get down to perhaps North Carolina, South Carolina, but we're doing pretty awesomely in the water table department, the soil moisture department, east of the Mississippi River. So that is a good news. We don't need to worry about this dry week coming up. As you can see here in the white, there's quite a dry slot running from kind of the central Gulf Coast up through Virginia toward the DC area into Delaware as well in the Delmarva. So it's not looking like a week you need to worry about your umbrella. That's also good news if you have outdoor plans. But think about next week. Let's look ahead and talk about trends. The atmosphere is leaning a little bit moister next week. We could be above average with our precipitation and make up for this week's dryness. Temperatures next work week could be above average. It looks like leaning pretty decent chance, probability-wise, of above average temperatures for next work week as well. And kind of in the medium term, this Saturday, here's a preview. Again, forecast confidence medium at best, and stay tuned to capitalweathergang.com. We could have a warm weekend, but it's unclear if we are going to maybe have an unsettled weekend where we are dealing with some clouds, maybe some raindrops as well, but we'll keep you posted on those maybe outdoor plans you're trying to get firmed up for this upcoming weekend. Be just a little bit flexible coming up. And of course, we want to make sure you know about Gifts for the Homeless. We're trying to, as meteorological winter ends, we're trying to finish up our big fundraising drive with Gifts for the Homeless, CWG.news/fundraiser. Please go to this link. Consider giving a penny or $1. 100% goes to warm clothing. We do have some wind chills to speak of this week, especially tonight into tomorrow night. Wind chills really do wick away that warmth from your skin. And here is what it looks like tomorrow morning. A lot of 20s, even some upper teens for wind chills when we wake up tomorrow morning. And for those of us lucky to be under a roof, we won't think about it too much, but I want you to remember, as we do at capitalweathergang.com, those less fortunate, sleeping in tents outdoors tonight into tomorrow night when it does looked like it could feel like January again for a brief moment. We were trying to raise a few more dollars at CWG.news/fundraiser. Again, there's no overhead. This organization is run by volunteers. So everything you donate, whether it be a penny or a dollar, goes toward gifts for the homeless, buying warm clothing for those less fortunate than us. So thank you for considering that. All right, we have got a decent week ahead, especially midweek when you think about the temperatures acting a little bit more spring-like, right on cue for meteorological spring on Tuesday, March 1. We start chilly, we kind of end chilly, but really little, if any, raindrops to speak of. More sun than clouds, although we could see some clouds at times. And winds are generally under control, but we do see a little bit of a wind chill effect tonight into tomorrow night. And again, maybe at the end of the week when we get a little bit cooler again as well. I'm Camden Walker for CapitalWeatherGang.com. Thanks for tuning in. CWG.news/latest. That link right there will take you to our latest on CapitalWeatherGang.com, our PM update, detailing how we kind of bounce around again, go down the weather roller coaster just to go back up for the middle part of this week and then maybe back down again on Friday. We're bouncing around with a little bit of weather whiplash in recent days. Oh, Mary, that's the most kind. Thanks for tuning in, Mary Taylor. Ruth Elisa, May 2nd on Wednesday. It looks like it should be okay if you're doing a birthday outdoors. This pattern shift, are we going to see some rain in the next couple weeks, David? Indeed. I hope I was able to tell you kind of the indications for next work week. Here it is in the green, a decent chance of above average precipitation after a pretty dry week this week. Maybe little, if any, rain around the DC area and points south especially and east of DC this upcoming week. But again, we're doing okay in the drought department. Don't need to worry about any droughts around the area. Just a little bit on the coastal areas of the Carolinas, but yellow spots, really abnormally dry, is not even full-on droughts, and we're doing pretty okay overall east of the Mississippi River. All right, we've got Kenny good for farmers. Yes, indeed. Once we get to this pattern next week, once we get dry this week, and then maybe looking into next work week where this green indicates above average precipitation possible, if not probable, for next work week. Vicky says bring on spring. And Paul, Interstate 95 corridor to New York from DC have a chance of snowstorms before spring. Could use one more, Paul. And yes, while we have kind of put dormant our snow potential index, we are not writing off everything just yet for snow. Let's get into the middle part of March just to make sure moisture and cold air don't combine for one last storm. We have seen plenty of snow even into early April, although not much accumulating. So Paul, don't write off snow season just yet in the DC area of the Mid-Atlantic. All right. Alex is thinking any Arctic weather might be back in a temporary manner from this point forward. That's generally, I think we agree with, as meteorological spring starts on Tuesday, indicating that the mode of the atmosphere is a little bit warmer, a little bit moister and rainier than snowy, especially in our part of the world as we, in the northern hemisphere, receive a warmer and warmer sun angle. It's just turning into a warmer time of year, even though on the calendar, we don't officially become spring until later in March, around the 20th, 21st. Oh, Kristen, that's very kind. And do donate if you can to our Gifts for the Homeless fundraiser. Let me pull that up again for you. Wind chills tomorrow morning, again in the 20s, if not upper teens in a couple spots west of town. Go to CWG.news/fundraiser. We're trying to raise a penny or a dollar more from you just to get closer to our goal, to 100% of which goes toward warm clothing for those less fortunate. So as we get cold pockets of air again, still this time of year, especially tonight into tomorrow night and maybe at the end of this week on Friday, please remember those less fortunate, and thanks for considering donating. There's no overhead, no fees on what you donate, especially this link goes through Facebook, and Facebook doesn't even take any fees out of everything you donate. So thank you for considering. Wind chill is part of science where it wicks away the heat and moisture from your skin. It's very hard to stay warm when the wind is blowing, especially those sleeping in tents outdoors. So thanks again for considering donating if you can to our winter fundraiser at CWG.news/fundraiser. All right, I'm Camden Walker for CapitalWeatherGang.com. I hope you're enjoying the greater and greater evening lights. Look at that, almost 6 p.m. for our sunset in DC. I'm on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, coming to you live, simulcasting right now on those 3 channels of social media. And thanks for anytime you need us, checking our blog at CapitalWeatherGang.com. And I'll talk to you even later next Sunday after 6 p.m. So it's great if you're an evening light lover. We are getting longer and longer daylight, more and more evening light. Ahead of the time change, I believe in two Saturday nights from now, 2 Sunday mornings. It's coming up, I believe, on the 13th. So not much more left of standard time as we then move forward by the middle part of this month into daylight saving, middle of March. It's coming on Tuesday. All right, Mahia, thanks so much for tuning in. And Earl, donation website is CWG.news/fundraiser. So there you go. Wind chills tomorrow morning here in the 20s for much of the region as you wake up. So we're trying to remember those less fortunate by donating a penny or a dollar if you can at CWG.news/fundraiser. Thanks so much. Zero overhead, zero fees. 100% of what you donate, any amount, goes toward warm clothing for those less fortunate. So thank you very much for considering that. Let's get you back to your forecast at a glance. Chilly start, chilly end, mild in the middle, more sun than clouds, although we could see some clouds at times this week. Raindrops are minimal, if any, this week. Maybe late Wednesday night into Thursday and Friday, we could see a couple raindrops, but overall, it's a pretty dry week, if not fully dry. And of course, anytime you want to check out the PM update, go to this link at CWG.news/latest. Touch on my face. The link will pop up below on your mobile device or above on your desktop or laptop. Andrew, hello. Rain, snow in California before the rainy season is over. It looks pretty caustic, pretty up and down there in California. I hope for a little bit more. I am not too optimistic, but don't count it out just yet. We're looking for maybe potentially, snow season not being over in DC. Rainy season's not technically over in California just yet. So let's keep our fingers crossed for those who want some snow in DC and some rain in California. It is not worth writing off just yet, either of those places. All right, we've got any sign of warmth to speed up the development of cherry blossoms. Well, Chris, funny you should ask. Let's look ahead to Saturday. We could be a bit warm, back into the 60s. Some clouds and unsettled conditions could be around, maybe a couple raindrops. But temperatures alone and stronger sun angle this time of year could get the cherry blossoms brewing just a little bit. And then look at next work week. In the orange and reds here, that's a decent probability of the atmosphere being above average next week, which, remember, let's review. Average high temperature at DCA Airport next time you talk to me next Sunday will be 53 degrees. So we're talking above average from kind of the mid 50s benchmark. We could be seeing upper 50s, if not 60s, or warmer next week. We'll see. This does not necessarily indicate the magnitude of warmth, but just the probability, the likelihood of seeing above average temperatures. So I just want you to realize the benchmark is warming as well when we think about average this time of year as we get into March, which is the start of meteorological spring. We're warming toward the mid 50s now for this time of year by the time this map becomes valid for next work week. All right, David, yes, soon in about 2 weeks' time when you talk to me, we'll be talking at or after 7 o'clock because sunsets are getting later and later. Right now approaching 6 p.m. in the DC area, but soon we'll be adding an hour in a couple weeks as daylight saving time begins. Thanks for tuning in on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Enjoy that evening light that's getting toward and after 6 p.m. by later this week. So you'll be talking to me after 6 p.m. Standard time next week for these weekly Sunday sunset chats. I'm Camden Walker for CapitalWeatherGang.com. On the air another 90 seconds or so. Let me know if you have any final questions. Indeed, David, Spring Forward is happening in the middle part of March. And we've got Gabriel wanting to keep standard time. And let's see, Lewis, cold start to the week, moderating midweek, and then cool down towards the end of the week. Indeed, it's a little bit like Groundhog Day, a little bit of a weather whiplash, a little bit of a weather roller coaster. We start low, go a bit high in the temperatures, only to go back down on Friday, perhaps, into a cooler air regime. So it's a little bit, and let's check out the latest here on your weather at a glance here, the forecast for the week ahead, and of course, latest at CWG.news/latest. Chilly start, chilly end, warmish in the middle, and not too much rain, if any, to speak of this week. Maybe some nighttime raindrops, but we'll keep an eye on it at CapitalWeatherGang.com. Kind of spring-like, though, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe Thursday as well. And we've got Laura. Thank you so much for donating to CWG.news/fundraiser. Let's review that one last time before I go. Since wind chills in this upper map here are in the 20s tomorrow morning, we're trying to remember those less fortunate and get them warm clothing by going to CWG.news/fundraiser. 100% of whatever you donate, a penny, dollar, or more, goes toward warm clothing. No fees, no overhead. The great volunteers of this organization we've been working with for 10 years and can't say enough good about them. and that everything you donate goes toward warm clothing for those less fortunate. So thanks for remembering that as well. Thanks, David, for tuning in, and Drew, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate all of you tuning in for these live chats, and I'll talk to you next week after 6 p.m. I'm Cameron Walker for CapitalWeatherGang.com, signing off for now.